Hello, everybody.
Hello. Happy third Thursday at 3:30.
Third Thursday at 3:30. Really, we're able to pull in all the alliteration.
Yeah, this is fun. We haven't done a third Thursday at 3:30 in a while. We're reviving something that we started a long time ago. Modern Cleaning used to do a webinar every third Thursday at 3:30. And the topic in modern cleaning was always some type of science-based cleaning based on, high uh, results, low impact, chemical-free cleaning, stuff like that. Um, you know, it was kind of cool. It was cool. We had a lot of fun
That's
doing that.
awesome. That's awesome. Now we're doing, more revolutionary things on the third
Uh,
Thursday at 3:30.
high, high results, low impact stuff on the business side
Exactly.
using some pretty cool technology. Um, ding, 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 ding. So, am I sharing my screen?
It is taking a second, but there it is.
Okie dokie. So we are in business. Should we should we get started?
Yeah, just a couple of housekeeping things. Since we are in webinar format, there isn't like an open chat for everybody to necessarily join, but feel free to use the Q&A for any questions or comments and th or things as we go along. We'll keep an eye on that.
And we will just pull the little widget up so we're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. Got it off to the side here.
Okie doke. Well, thank you for joining us today. I'm Tom Stewart. I'm with Aja Holiday. And this is the third Thursday, 3:30. We've set that as the date and time for every month. We're going to be sharing uh, some benchmark data in the industry. We're referring to it as the PCI, the Professional Cleaning Index, and this is the PCI report. And we think this is something that really needs to be done because I tell the stories when we started, RXC 20 some odd years ago, and we would always get together and questions that would come up would be, how much do I pay my technicians or what should I charge for my service? And um, things have evolved a lot since then, and we're asking more sophisticated questions than just that. But those are still very relevant questions, and we're not in a position to tell people what they should do, but we do have a lot of aggregated data that we feel will be useful for the industry, and we're going to be sharing it here every month, doing this in the PCI report. So you can kind of look at what's going on within the industry, look at where you are as an individual business, and make some determinations if you feel you're doing well, or if you think that you need to, work on improvement. Um, this is the first time from an industry standpoint that anybody has had the opportunity to aggregate and share benchmark data like this. This is real data from real, companies. Um, I think it's important to note that these are all Made Central companies. So, as a rule, Made Central you know, operators of Made Central companies are, implementing the most advanced professional management techniques, and they've got some, pretty cool competitive advantages from a technology standpoint. So, these numbers arguably might be a little bit better than what you would see in the overall industry, but nevertheless, it certainly demonstrates what can be done. These are you're looking at data collected from over 150,000 cleaning events and being performed by over 5,000 cleaning technicians in North America. That sounds pretty impressive, doesn't it?
That does.
So, why does it matter? We need to know how we're doing against, our peers. And, we break it down by small, medium, and large businesses. We give you six specific ratios that are important for any professionally managed house cleaning business to know. And if you have your data and you're able to compare it to, what the industry norms are, you're able to make better business decisions. And getting these numbers every month give you a really good perspective in terms of what's going on in the industry. Are things getting better? Are things becoming more competitively challenged? What are, are labor rates going up or bill rates going up? And we're going to be squeezing a lot of value out of these numbers as we go on.
I like to say it's, determining if it's a you problem
Yeah.
or not.
In some degree, it's always a you problem, but sometimes it's outside world, problem is a contributing factor.
Yeah. So we've got some key definitions and benchmarks here for everybody just to kind of put you in the frame of what we're working with. We've broken things down into small, medium, and large companies based off of annual revenue projections. So small company under 500,000 annual revenue, medium company between 500 and 1.5 million, and then large companies over the 1.5 million annual revenue amount. And then we do have our benchmarking metrics here, just kind of generally how these are being calculated. So you guys can calculate them for yourselves as well, though assuming most of you are already on Made Central, but if you're not, Made Central does have a core KPI report and some other reports that have most of these on there. While not all of these are core KPIs, they have some overlap. So being able to see those regularly and know where you're standing is something new for us.
And if you notice, three of them they're all ratios, right? And we do that for a reason because ratios kind of transcend various business models and other factors that normalize the result. So you can compare apples to apples a little bit better when you're using ratios. Three of them begin with dollar signs. Three of them are percentages. And as a rule, with inflation, you expect to see the dollars go up as time goes on. Where the percentages, there's going to be changes in those month over month and year over year, but as a rule, they're going to fluctuate. They're never going to go like all the way down to zero because it just doesn't work that way. It can't
Yeah.
it can't do that. But typically when they go down, that's a little bit better. That means the from a percentage standpoint, that means the companies are performing better and getting better results and being more profitable.
Exactly. All right. So to kind of kick us off, we've got our revenue per job. So at the top here, we've got our overall average of just over $205. You can kind of see the trend among large, medium, and small companies. This is probably the cleanest arrangement of those three different categories. You'll notice in some of the other graphs, they're crossing streams, I don't know, crossing lines back and forth. And on this one, you can kind of see that large companies have, you know, for a while now, at least for what we're looking at here, led the pack on being the higher of that overall average. So they're at that 211 $211.08 for September. Just below that, we've got our medium companies hanging right at that 200 line, 201.87, and then our small companies on the lower end here at 187.30. So we've got about a 20 something dollar difference here, $24 difference between the small companies and the large companies. And what we'd like to see is seeing that gap kind of slowing down or slimming out as time goes on, bringing those more in line together. But overall, we see some positive improvements month over month, stayed pretty level here across the overall average. So just a 0.18% increase month over month. But year over year, we're showing a healthy 3.31% increase from this time last year, which is what we would like to see, especially, following that same idea that anything that we're presenting as a monetary number, we want those numbers to pretty much be trending up to kind of follow along with inflation. So this is showing a good, healthy growth there.
And that 3.3% is, yeah, somewhere in the ballpark of what the current, just inflation rate for the entire basket of goods is. So, that's just kind of a coincidence, but that's it's a good healthy number. Um,
Yep. And then Robin here asked if this was just for the month of September, and that is correct. So this is the average for the month of September, and then we show the graph here for that kind of trend line of what it's looked like over the course of the year.
yeah. And the month over month change is how much it went up between August and September, and the year over year was September a year ago compared to this last September.
Yep.
Pretty big disparity between the different size companies. I mean, that's material.
Yeah.
Smaller companies need to be charging more.
Yeah. Yeah. But on one of our, I think the next one, or probably we can see that they're working on it.
So why does this matter?
Yeah, so revenue per job is a pretty good representation of your profitability and your growth. It shows, whether pricing is kind of reflecting the value that's being delivered. Um, you really have to balance what your customers are willing to pay with what you need to charge. And understanding the difference between what they're willing to pay and what they want to pay are different things. And finding that happy medium that, shows the value of what you're doing and the cost of what you're doing accurately, or appropriately is really the goal here. Um, Higher revenue per job will just directly strengthen your cash flow, and kind of reduces the reliance on volume. We see this. Well, this kind of works with the revenue per job hour as well, which is kind of that hourly rate. But when people are doing rate increases or adjustments, we have our cut off the bottom exercise where we're really looking at the who's at the bottom of the pack. And if we kind of cut those off and only, charged what the middle of the pack and higher are paying, you need less of those to keep doing what you're doing and earning what you're earning, and their dollar goes further. So this is a really important piece of that. A couple of different things drive it. Your service pricing strategy and quote accuracy are going to be a big piece of this, making sure that you're accurately pricing your jobs and keeping those in line, really paying attention to how many, what those prices are looking like. Um, Provide some differentiation between quality, reliability, and brand reputation. This is kind of a big reflection of why those bigger companies have a consistently higher revenue per job. It's because they are able to differentiate themselves based on their quality and their reliability. They have that brand reputation that they can kind of charge for. And direct impacts of this are going to be upselling add-ons and premium service tiers. If you offer different tiers of service, you can charge more for higher tiers of service. So sometimes adding some of those options can help drive this up a little bit without completely changing your baseline service.
The larger companies didn't become larger by accident, did they?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And are able to kind of charge a premium for that experience.
So our next benchmark number is revenue per job hour. What do we have here, Aja?
Yeah, so showing kind of similar to our revenue per job overall average around $59. And you can see all three companies this month joined all the way up together. I really want to highlight the small company trajectory here because they are catching up.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is spectacular. It's so cool to see this, seeing them, below the 55 range pretty consistently and just shooting up and up and up over the course of the last year to the first time that we've seen in a year at least, all four or all three company sizes right in line with less than what, 20 cents, 23, 22 cents difference between them. So seeing some good synergy in hourly rates here. Uh, Similar month over month and year over year changes as the revenue per job. The month over month is the exact same, that 0.18%, and the year over year is just a little bit lower at the 2.58%, but still showing a good growth, which we want to see with anything in this number category or this monetary categories.
So if the smaller companies are getting their revenue per job hour in alignment, but their bill rate per job is meaningfully lower. That means the allowed hours per job is meaningfully lower. Wonder if those are
Lower
smaller
or
homes.
inaccurately. I mean, there's some interesting thoughts on that, on how that's working out. Yeah, fewer hours, maybe taking less time, different
Fewer
requirements on quality.
add-ons.
Yeah.
Would smart payments improve revenue per job hour? I need to think about that one. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Um,
Uh-oh.
yeah.
What happened?
Where are we going? We're going back to the beginning. We're taking it back, y'all.
Oh no, something went awry. Here we go.
There we go. So some insights on this. Why does it matter? We're really, this is a direct representation of your productivity and your accuracy of your quoting. So, if you're quoting too low or too high, that's going to have a direct impact on your revenue per job hour results. Um, it's a key measurement to how efficiently time is turned into revenue. So that productive time, is it being productive? How productive is it? That's what this is. This is a measurement of how productive your technicians are being in relation to how things are being scheduled, what the allowed hours are. Um, what's kind of important about this, high revenue per job hour signals strong productivity and quoting discipline. So yeah, if you're seeing good numbers on this, you probably are able to keep your productivity and quoting numbers in line as well. Um, Weakness on this is going to be either, underbidding jobs where you're saying it's going to take 3 hours and your technicians are regular taking 4 hours or more or something like that. This could span across different service types. Your maintenance cleans might be meeting the allowed hours, but maybe your initial cleans, one times, and move outs are regularly going over. That will directly impact this as well. A couple of different things drive it. That accurate job scoping, allowed hours, and quoting practices are all direct impacts on this, um, particularly on that job scoping. Uh, we really preach consistency at Made Central. Um, and a piece of that is that, technicians get more familiar with the home. They're able to perform better, faster in those homes when they understand, when they keep seeing it on a regular basis. But for job scoping, that's going to be, knowing what you're cleaning and then accurately translating that to your technicians. So site-specific scope of work notes. So that's, breaking apart your notes into more than just, this is a house cleaning. Is there anything that the technician needs to know? And especially if it's a technician who hasn't been there before, needs to know, that will help them be more productive in this home. That's going to be a big piece of this. Regular rate increases and adjustments. I mentioned our cut off the bottom exercise. That's really looking at your revenue per job hour on a customer by customer basis and either increasing or removing. not we're not advocating removing, usually increasing and letting the ones that leave, but increasing the ones at the low end up to kind of the average, and that will instantly improve this with while charging what you're worth essentially. And then training your teams for productivity without sacrificing quality. I think we can all agree that quality is going to be that number one priority for our cleaning technicians, but productivity is following right behind it. Once that quality really makes sense and clicks in, then you really want to focus on the productivity and get them up to speed and being able to perform that quality without having to go slow.
The accurate quoting is important part of this, and the hardest part of that is calculating the allowed hours, and that's how the May Central quoting tool set up properly and tweaked as you collect more data really helps you do that. And if your average company productivity is around 100%, you've got that dialed in well. But even with that, you're going to get some quotes that are going to be underpriced. And that's where the rate adjustments really come in. And you might know what your average revenue per job hour is. But what you really want to do is find the recurring homes that number is low and do an adjustment to bring it up. And that brings your overall average up even higher. And it's like printing money. It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. All right, next one up is our recurring customer churn per month. Um, Showing some good healthy numbers here. Overall average at 5.38%. Small companies at 5.42, medium at 5.45, and large at 5.32%. So all within 0.1% of each other. Seeing that this line, on the graph, they all kind of trend together. Smaller companies do see a little more volatility in this number just because they have fewer customers. So every customer loss weighs just a little bit more. So you see a little more jumps on that small company line, but in general, everything's kind of following together. Our month over month changes here both look really good, or our percentage comparison changes here both look really good. Our month over month at a negative 2.17% is great, showing just a decline there on customer churn, which just means we're doing better at retaining our customers. And the year over year is incredible. We did a couple of checks on this to verify and look at it, and it's good. So negative 23.53% here. So we were pushing over 7% this time last year. Can't speak to necessarily what was causing that, but we have done a good job of settling it down, it looks like, as an industry, and kind of getting into that healthy range of that 5%, which is, our goal is 5% or lower, or kind of industry average is 5%. And we really push the goal being under that for our Made Central partners in particular during educational events like this.
So why does it matter?
Yeah. Retention is the foundation of a stable recurring revenue model, right? So it doesn't matter if you can keep selling it if you can't keep them. There's no benefit in the recurring model if they're not going to stay recurring. So retention, keeping that really high and your churn down really low, is going to keep that stability for you. That's your financial security. So this number ties directly into all of our financial securities and as being parts of this industry. Losing clients erodes your growth, even when your new sales are strong. We talk about this in terms of how attrition really starts to impact you as your company kind of grows. It's easier to kind of replace those as you're smaller. 1-to-1 is pretty good, but if you keep a 5% churn rate as you grow, replacing 20 customers is much harder than
You
replacing
know,
one was. So
it's like if you take the number one and divide it by your churn rate, that's the average number of months you keep a recurring client. So if it's 7% churn, you're going to keep clients about 14 months. If it's 5% churn, you're going to keep them 20. So you're getting another half a year on average for recurring clients by taking it from 7 to 5. That's a lot of additional money.
yeah. And I think that speaks to kind of what's important here. Lower churn means higher lifetime value per customer. The lifetime value of a 14-month customer is going to be significantly lower than a lifetime value of a 20-month customer. They're paying the same amount every month. You're getting, 6 extra more months of that bill rate. Um, Churn reflects both service quality and customer experience. So this is beyond just the quality of the service, but what are their interactions like? Communication, setting those expectations. I jumped a little bit into the what drives it here. So I'm going to skip to the second bullet point here. That detailed scope of work, those expectations is a big part of this. Having the expectation clear and aligned from customer to office staff to your technician staff and back again, because everybody interacts in a circle between those three kind of stakeholders. Um, if the customer is expecting something and the office guarantees it and then doesn't communicate that to the technicians, we're gonna fall real flat on that experience because of the expectations. So detailed scopes of work, communication, and trust building with clients are going to be big impacts here. Consistency of service delivery and quality management. That's kind of the first one. That's why quality is going to be that first priority always with our technicians, and this is a big part of it. But we have to think about what else impacts that overall quality. It's not just the clean itself. Communication is a big part of that too. And then making sure you have good proactive follow-ups, feedback systems, and loyalty incentives for your customers as well.
All those together will allow you to increase the lifetime value of a customer. And that's really what we're talking about. And you layer over that rate increases, rate adjustments, that even expands the lifetime value more. But it all starts with this customer churn. The big companies do a really good job of customer churn. Now, I guess our numbers show that all of them do. But
Yeah.
the way the big companies got big was controlling that.
Absolutely.
And if the smaller companies keep it low, they're going to become big companies too.
Faster.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, Next number here is going to be our direct payroll to revenue. So this doesn't include any of your additional taxes or benefits or anything. This is your direct production-based payroll to revenue is what we're looking at here.
Just gross pay, whatever
Just
the
gross pay.
gross amount is. Yeah.
Yep. So overall average at 41.68%. And we're actually showing an interesting run here. Our larger companies are on the high side this time, and our small companies are on the lower end. But they're all within about 1% of each other. So small companies just over 41%, medium companies at 41.5, and large companies, oh, I guess it's almost 3%, almost 2%. Just kidding, at
Mhm.
42.9%, almost up to that 43.
Looks like
Um,
all three of them came down from where they were in August.
yeah, yeah. So we've seen good improvements here, about a 1%, 1.5% almost decrease from August to September. And then over the year, we've shown a similar kind of decrease, 1.2, 1.3% down from last year this time. And you'll see like the graph here is a lot more a little more all over the place. So we have a few
Mhm.
more things kind of impacting this over time, and we see people kind of changing places. Nobody's really leading the pack as far as company size wise. So there's a lot of different things that can impact this number. Why does this one matter? Labor is by far the largest expense for cleaning companies, so it's very, very important to pay attention to it. Payroll efficiency directly influences your margins. If you're able to keep this really tight and close and consistent, you have better capability of using, what's left efficiently and making good plans for that in the future as well. Um, a healthy balance keeps pay competitive while ensuring profitability. Doesn't mean, payroll to revenue, if your number is high here, it doesn't mean pay less. That's not
Mhm.
usually the direction that we're trying to go here. It means that you need to be either charging more or having better controls within your, how production is happening. Um, High ratios may signal either overstaffing, some inefficiencies, or generally just underpriced jobs. Different things that drive it are going to be your scheduling efficiency and technician productivity. So those work hand in hand. Efficiency is your time between homes or non-productive time. How well is their productive time being used for their total time of the day, essentially, and how big is that non-productive time of the day? And then technician productivity is going to be that time in home. So together they get the whole full picture because technicians are paid from clock in to clock out, whether they're in home or not. You might pay a pay for performance model, but we still have to capture that time and be tracking it. Um, so those two impact that. Job pricing applied to allowed hours aligned with cost drivers. So this one took us a little bit to figure out how to say this, but what we're really talking about here is, you know, like the Made Central pricing model or quoting tool, we're coming up with the allowed hours of the time based off of their parameters, and then we're applying an hourly rate to it. That hourly rate that we're applying needs to take into account all of the different costs of pay and everything like that to know that your margins are in line. You can kind of reduce your costs to an hourly rate to know, okay, this is what my payroll cost is. We're starting at that 41%. We've got our supply costs, our overhead costs. This is what our hourly rate needs to be to make sure that we're staying healthy as a company.
So for cost drivers, if it's like a deep clean as opposed to general clean, you might apply a higher hourly rate to the allowed hours. Or if it's somebody who wants to get cleaned first thing Friday morning guaranteed, you might apply a higher hourly rate to that because that's like a premium time slot. If they're agreeable to have their home cleaned at a day and a time where you're cleaning the next door neighbor's house, you might decide to apply a modestly lower hourly rate to that. All of those are cost drivers.
Yeah. Um, Overall, reducing overtime and idle time are going to have big impacts on this, especially if you're getting into overtime with your technicians. Every hour of overtime is going to skyrocket your payroll to revenue numbers. Additionally, we didn't put one on here, but uh, training and kind of technician turnover, which is on here as well. are going to have big impacts on this because you'll see your training numbers go
Turnover.
up 3, 4, 5%. So if you're able to keep your technicians really consistent and that turnover down, your payroll to revenue is also going to see benefits from that.
And reducing idle time, that's measured by improving efficiency. Your efficiency is going up. That's a sign that you're reducing idle time.
Yep. And then we see a lot of people get really good success in reducing their payroll to revenue by switching to a performance pay model. So instead of paying direct hourly, moving to allowed hours pay or fee split or commission, as it's commonly referred to. Um, those can really help put some controls on that payroll to revenue amount while still paying good competitive wages to your technicians, but keeping controls on it. So performance pay is a big piece if you're looking into changing how you're paying your technicians a little bit.
Which kind of ties into technician turnover.
Yep. So technician turnover is next here. We've got an overall average of 172.8%. Uh, Large companies at the lowest here at 148.9. Small companies actually next up at 182%. And then medium companies at the highest right now at 195% per year. Month over month, we saw a slight increase here, less than 1% at 0.84. So a little bit more turnover than in August. And then year over year, we are still showing a huge drop. It does look like our small companies had a really rough September in 2024. So it looks like they pulled that up just a little bit more than typical. So coming back to this time this year shows a really significant improvement at 17%. So why does it matter? We already talked a little bit about it, but recruiting and training are costly. Training is, payroll in general is our highest cost, and training just makes it so much bigger. So, consistent churn really limits that growth because you don't have that extra little amount on your margins because of training consistently, um, without keeping the retention. High turnover disrupts service quality and client satisfaction. This speaks to consistency. Um, Constantly seeing new faces in their home, whether they have ever told you they want consistency or not, can still kind of diminish that on the client side as well. And I didn't add that in there, but it also diminishes it on the technician side. If they're constantly seeing new faces rotate through the door, it's harder for them to um, feel inclusive, feel welcoming to new people. If they're like, I don't know if they're going to be here in 2 weeks, I'm not really going to put in the effort. That can really impact culture in general. Uh, Pieces that are important here: stability builds stronger teams and consistent customer experiences. Lower turnover reduces those recruiting and training costs. So, kind of inverses of the why it matters. Things that drive it: competitive pay and benefits. That's going to be the first thing that people turn to when they're leaving is going to be their pay, but it's not the only thing. So don't stop listening there. Accurate quoting and performance pay are both tied into this. If, you've got performance pay, it kind of puts, in tie with accurate quoting, it means that they know that they're going to be paid appropriately for the work that's being done. Um, and that, you know, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. So, supportive culture and recognition and growth opportunities are great there too. You can't just pay people well and not have a good culture. So make sure that that culture is, consistent. How many times can we say that? But your culture is consistent and, you're hiring to that culture. Um, and then predictable schedules. Again, part of the consistency here. If people know what homes they're going to be cleaning on a regular basis, every 2 weeks, every month, they kind of get to know what time they can expect to be done on a regular basis. And that's one of the probably biggest cons of our type of work as a new technician, is just being like, I don't know when I get off. I start at this time, but I'm gonna just shrug my shoulders and not really sure what time I'm gonna be done. The more that you're able to really uh, follow through with their end time matching to the time that they're scheduled, the better that they're going to feel about their job and really improves that work-life balance.
So that kind of ties into the pay rate per clock hour. Clock hour
Yes.
being defined as, you know, drive time, meeting time, all the time that the Department of Labor would consider work time.
Exactly. So our overall average is just over $20, $20.07. Leading the pack is going to be our large companies again, $20.41, medium companies at $19.82, and small companies at $19.27, showing some decent consistency here across the year, a couple of peaks and bumps. Um, Small companies working hard to get up in line with the medium and large again as well. We don't While we expect this number to kind of be increasing with inflation, we don't really give an advice on whether higher or lower is better on our technician pay rate, but we are showing a drop from August to September of about 0.79% and year over year a drop of 1.25% on this. So things are holding really steady on our technician pay rate, but can't speak to whether that's a good thing or a bad thing here.
Come on. Here we go.
Why it matters. Pay competitiveness influences recruiting and retention. You know, makes it easier to recruit if you can have a good competitive rate that you're advertising. Impacts both labor costs and employee satisfaction. So this is going to be part of that direct impact of payroll to revenue as well. Pay should be competitive but sustainable. I know a lot of us get into this industry, or a lot of people that I've talked to have got into this industry to kind of get their own sense of financial freedom, and they want to try and help other people that, you know, are other young people that are trying to do that as well and want to try and give them everything, but you can't do that at the cost of the whole business because then nobody gets paid if the business can't stay sustainable. So really making sure that you find the good line between sustainability and competitive pay. Um, and then additionally, balancing wage growth with pricing strategy is key here. If you are wanting to increase your wages, you got to make sure that you're increasing that pricing, potentially even ahead of time to make sure that it's going to stay in that range, making sure it's not just a blip on the graph. Things that drive it, market wage trends and local competition are going to be the big ones here. We've had a lot of people, or we've had people asking about these numbers on kind of a regional uh, breakdown or urban versus rural breakdown. So because this one is probably one of the biggest ones. This is where you're going to see the widest range of this one and probably pay per hour or sorry, revenue per job hour are going to see the biggest differences between where you might be located. Having transparent, clear paths and incentives beyond base pay. So making sure that the time that your technicians are putting in feels worth it. Where can I go if I want to continue growing with this company? What do the opportunities kind of look like? Um, Directly related to pay and beyond. Performance pay is huge here. That's going to be allowed hour pay or fee split pay. So paying on the allowed hours the job is scheduled for or a percentage of the total rate. That directly ties their performance to what they get paid. That gives them a driving, uh, what's the word I'm looking for?
An incentive. I mean,
Driving stake. Yeah,
yeah, we're in alignment. The technicians are in alignment with the company in terms of, we want to use our time as productively as we can.
exactly. And I think both types of performance pay or just performance pay in general also have positive impacts on improving productivity and efficiency. So that's going to be total total, clock time broken up into productive and non-productive time. That productive time is going to directly impact how much they're getting paid. If they're able to do more jobs, they're able to get paid more. And that kind of makes them more productive and more efficient because their goals align as well.
So kind of in summary, Aja, you would say that the numbers look like not 100%, but as a group, as a body of work, moving in a positive direction.
Yeah, I think so. I would say, almost everything is moving the direction that we would want it to go. The couple of numbers that are moving a little bit, in the opposite direction are very slight changes. So feeling like it's holding more steady than anything. On revenue and productivity, holding steady here, uh, shows that we're having continued pricing discipline. Our operations are consistent, and even though our wage trends are cooling down a little bit. Customer retention is improving. The year over year for customer retention and turnover were both really significant. So that's showing just a really good shift towards loyalty and satisfaction on both the customer and technician side. Sustained improvements points to a stronger client relationship being able to be manifested across all of the different company sizes. Um, our labor costs are also well under control and kind of staying in good line. Um, Shows improved scheduling, efficiency, and general margin discipline. Turnover does feel a little bit higher than maybe what I was kind of expecting over, looking at this, but it's still showing a good year over year improvement. So that's good. I mean, we're definitely going in the right direction on that one, even if there was a slight uptick in August
And if you
or in
if you
September,
think
I
about
mean.
it, supposedly the labor market is softening a little bit. I know that's like, you know, a local thing, some markets more so than others, but the turnover rate improving at the same time that the wage uh, is getting a little bit lower. Maybe there's a correlation there that you would think they would both move in the same direction.
Yeah, yeah, that does make sense. And then yeah, the final kind of insight here is that our wages are cooling slightly. Like it does ease some of our cost strain short term, but I think really paying attention to this, and making sure it doesn't test that retention of technicians or technician turnover directly too much. I think that's going to be a good thing to kind of pay attention to.
So kind of in summary, this is just one snapshot of the average for the entire industry, along with the month over month and year over year change.
Yeah, so just kind of where we're standing right now, looking all right.
So one other thing I want to share real quickly that we're doing a webinar next Thursday on the 30th at 3 o'clock Eastern time. It's not a webinar, it's going to be a live stream. So you can catch it in the usual YouTube or Facebook channels. And it's about smart payments. Um, Long and short of it is 2025. Um, Consumers are quickly becoming accustomed to the idea of absorbing the credit card processing cost. Smart payments is a way to do that legally in compliance. You can shave a couple of points of revenue. Additional, points of revenue can go directly to your bottom line by passing those credit card processing costs along to your clients. And assuming a 10% profit margin, that could be an extra 10, 20+% profit just by using smart payments. And we've seen a number of companies implement that and see it, and customers really aren't pushing back. And it's free money, to improve your bottom line 10, 20% without having to really do anything more but process your credit cards, in a different way. Um, you know, I, People are adopting it, and I fully expect that, we're not too far away before everybody's doing this. So if you haven't looked at it, I would encourage you to do so. I've posted a link in chat, or at least I am efforting to, on our website, and we'll be coming out with more information too. But if you want to know more about it, check out our live stream next Thursday. Is that it, Anja?
That is it. Our first webinar version of the PCI report. So very exciting stuff.
On the third Thursday at 3:30.
Yep.
So mark your calendars for November 20th. That'll be the third Thursday at 3:30 in November. We'll have the October PCI report. That'll be after convention.
Yep.
So we'll have a few extra things to talk about, I'm sure.
Yeah. Very
So
exciting.
thank you for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you next week on the Smart Payments live stream. Till then, take care.
Have a good one.